Jacksonville Jaguars, baby. And we gotta keep it hype. Keep it hype. Represented for life. You know how we do it. Woo! Hey! Jacksonville Jags. We don't mean to brag, but when we on the field, we got it in the bag. Jacksonville Jags. You know how we ball. Best believe it. Got the people screaming out, Duval. Jacksonville Jags. We don't mean to brag, but when we on the field, we got it in the bag. Jacksonville Jags. You know how we ball. Best believe it. Got the people screaming out, Duval. Okay, Jacksonville Jaguars. Too much for your crew.
And what is going on, everybody? Welcome back into Club Jaguar, guys, your favorite show right here every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. And guys, look, we've had a lot of low moments on this show. I had much bigger visions when I created the show. And look, I thought, the last show a couple weeks ago, we were really in the pits after keeping Balky around. But man, things are crazy. I mean, last week, I guess maybe not at this time, but when we all woke up a week ago, Trent Baalke was still our GM, and like all the stuff that's transpired between now and then, we got really an optimistic viewpoint of this team now, man, and it really feels exciting, the direction and the potential of this team. But before I bring in Jordan and Jason, we have, I want to let you guys know that these streams are powered by BetUS, guys. 150% deposit bonus if you use promo code YouTube150. So going to go ahead and bring in my other guest here. First, we'll go ahead and bring in Jordan DeLugo. What up, Jordan?
What up? All I can say is Duval.
All right. And then we also got joining us, man.
Lord.
We have Jason from Jaguar, or Doug Peterson for Jaguars. I'm not really sure who I'm talking to, man. What's up?
Hey, I told you guys pre-show, like now that Doug's gone, I can finally wear the visor with no reservations. So I'm pumped about it.
That's looking good, man.
We're pumped about it too.
Yeah, we're pumped. We're pumped. But quick shout out, man. Official Nirvana throwing $100 freaking donation. Talk about some excitement right now. This is the best way to kick it off, right? But that's awesome. Very, very generous. We got a really, really fun show for you guys, and I'll be tuned into the chat and everything. But go ahead and put some W's in the chat for an official Nirvana. That's an awesome donation. We really appreciate it. But yeah, man, like I said, man, gosh, it was weird. It was weird after Black Monday when Doug Peterson was fired, but Trent Baalke stayed around. We said we weren't going to get a good head coach candidate, and we just essentially weren't going to be able to with him at the helm. But, now the Duval master himself, Liam Coen out here is the head coach. I got to tell you, I put this on Twitter this morning, the amount of non-football people sending me the clip of his Duval. Maybe not the greatest Duval, but and look, intro press conferences or whatever, but we have Liam Coen in the building, man. I'm excited. Jordan, how are you feeling about this hire?
Yeah, I mean, you've heard him asked to say Duval many times, and that was certainly the worst one.
Yeah.
But, he brings a very unique personality, a unique kind of aura about him. I think he's confident. I think he's fun. I think he's a little goofy, which is cool. I think he's chill, but very focused, very locked in, innovative on offense, as Shad Khan would like to say. And yeah, so I'm excited about the direction of the franchise, and I'm really excited that he saw it fit to bring Heath Farwell back as a special teams coordinator as well.
Yeah. So building out the staff, still need offensive and defensive coordinators. Looks like Patrick Graham was just scooped up today by the Raiders. So I know Jason had the tweet, little Patrick Star with the Graham crack. That was pretty good, man. Good. But that was good. I liked it. I like it, Jason. But Jason, I got to give you some credit, man. Of all the Liam Coen content that's out there on YouTube right now, you had a full comprehensive Liam Coen film breakdown, bringing down clips from different games, man. If you guys haven't checked that out, man, go check out Jason's channel, link down below. He put out an awesome, what was it, an hour and a half stream just breaking down, what he can bring to this team. And honestly, it's the best breakdown, I think, on YouTube right now. But Jason, how are you feeling about this hire, man?
Oh, it was good. I mean, I noticed that UCF Jaguar wasn't posting on YouTube, so I figured I'd seize the gap and try to, take as many of his subscribers as I could. So hopefully that worked out. But I am super excited. Obviously, I don't care about his Duval. I didn't think he was as nervous or anxious. I thought he did a really good job public speaking. I kind of broke it down a little bit. I mean, he was very calm, relaxed. He never used like or he was like very well prepared. He thanked all the reporters for their questions. I mean, I thought it was a really good job. And when he centered everything that he was saying around leadership and culture, that's a good way to do it right there, is to come out of the gate swinging that way. So I've said on all of our shows, what I care more about than a play caller is a guy who can establish a culture. And he referenced the Rams culture being a game changer. He referenced cultures at different stops he's had. So the fact that that's front and center on his brain makes me very optimistic about him coming in here.
Yeah, and you look at him, I mean, even the clips that you want to look at are honestly, like, I really like the ones that the Jaguars put out of him, like embracing the Jaguars players. I mean, he's calling them all up by name. Like, I mean, he knows this roster pretty well for obviously just getting into the building. So that's really, really exciting. And look, I mean, the whole time, like, I've been sitting here, like, I want a young, innovative offensive mind. And we got a guy from, the Sean McVay LA Rams tree. So, that's something that's really awesome. And like, he's himself. And like the main thing and I've sat here and I've said this before, like, dude, like, I've seen so many intro press conferences with Shad Khan. What's crazy is with Wayne Weaver, what was it? Only Tom Coughlin and Jack Del Rio. Like, since Shad bought the team in 2012, we've seen Mike Mularkey, we've seen Gus Bradley, we've seen Doug Marrone, we've seen Urban Meyer, we've seen Doug Peterson, we've seen Liam. Like, I am out on intro press conferences, man. Like these guys can do whatever. I don't know. It's whatever. I'm not going to put too much stock into it. I'm going to put stock into what's on the field. And man, it's really, really exciting kind of seeing his offense from, getting guys in motion, from being able to target like the best player on the offense, and just like innovative. So, Jordan, when you look at Liam Coen and what he brings to this offense, what gets you excited?
Well, certainly the mantra he has, players, not plays. And you might think of that as like, well, that sounds a little simplistic. He can dial it up. Like, he can get some like fantastic play calls and take advantage of defenses and utilize his players' skill sets across the board to the best of their ability. But players, not plays is a philosophy that we are going to design plays to get our best players the football in big moments and let them impact the game. And I think that's huge. I think that quite frankly, the Jaguars offense was a little bit lost in that regard until they lost Trevor Lawrence. And then they just decided, okay, now we can force feed the ball to Brian Thomas Jr. Why weren't they dialing up plays for Brian Thomas Jr. all year long consistently? Maybe they didn't think he could handle it. Obviously, he could. So there's things like that. And I think that when you look at the running game, he's going to do a much better job of installing. And the coaching staff still has to get filled out. And that's going to be a big part of it. It is. But just on the surface, I think that Liam Cohen's running game, his plan with the running game, is going to really accentuate Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby's skill sets a lot better than what you saw this past year and back into 2023 as well.
So do you think, like, I think, what do you think we had to do to really be able to establish the run game? Because I think when you actually look back at the Jaguars, I think 2023 we were like 23rd in rushing yards per game, and 2024 we were like 26th. So, like, with the personnel right now, I mean, can we get it done with there? Or do we have to kind of overhaul maybe some of the interior offensive linemen? Like, what do you think the Jaguars had to do to be able to, have the kind of running game that Liam Coen had for the Bucs in 2024?
Well, Sheriff is a free agent. He's also like 33 years old, so you got to go get a right guard.
And he's not pushing anybody.
Yeah, and I give him all the credit in the world. I do, but I think it's time to figure something else out there. And there's a nice list of free agents that could come in and play guard for you. There's also a nice list of draftable players. I think you should also be looking at, if not a new starting center in 2025, someone who can come in and compete and learn behind Mitch Morse pretty early on in the draft. I don't think there's like a lot of really high quality centers out there in free agency, But in the draft, I think you go get someone and you try to see if they can push Mitch Morse. If they can, great. If not, they can be a key backup. There's a lot of guys that can play center that also have guard tackle experience as well in this upcoming draft. So that's the way I look at it. You know, Anton Harrison, Walker Little, they're locked in. Ezra Cleveland is locked in at least for 2025. And I think he's a good football player. I think he does a good job in the run game for sure. So I think you're looking at right guard and center.
So if Gray Zabel is there at pick number 36 from North Dakota State, are you pulling the trigger?
Well, it depends on who else is there. I wouldn't take him over Tyler Booker, even though I love his versatility. I love the fact that he could probably be a swing guy at every spot on the offensive line, and I think he can be a really good center. But I would have a hard time taking him over like a Tyler Booker if he was available. But then again, Tyler Booker doesn't have that versatility in all likelihood to play across the line of scrimmage. So it just kind of depends on what happens in free agency. Like if you go sign your right guard and you're looking for your center at 36, I think Gray Zabel would be a fantastic option.
So Jason, when you look at Liam Coen and the new hire and what he's going to bring to this team and offense, like what gets you most excited?
Well, obviously his experience with Luke Fortner and his ability to coach Luke Fortner up. So I don't think I think he might try to make Luke Fortner work. I know you guys don't want to hear it, but I mean, he mentioned one of the first guys he mentioned in his press conference was Luke Fortner.
It's just because he knows him.
But with his offense, like, doesn't he need big linemen to push people? Isn't that like kind of his biggest weakness?
He pushed people for him at Kentucky, so I can't imagine he won't give him a try under contract at the NFL.
Yeah, and I don't think that this is an offense that's going to be reliant on, you know, the larger offensive linemen. I think they've done it with a lot of different styles of players in Tampa. And LA has really shifted their focus from like the zone scheme to the gap power scheme. So you could also, if Liam Coen is worth his salt and worth what we're talking about, he's going to have different iterations of his offense, and it's going to evolve throughout the years, and it's going to evolve based on the talent that he has. So we'll see.
I mean, Bucky Irving was a hell of a back. I didn't even appreciate how good he was until I went back and watched Tampa from last year. I mean, he's a really good back. But what makes Liam Coen exciting is that he creates running lanes through the passing game. Multiple times he has two running backs on the field. He uses a third tight end as strictly a fullback. He creates a lot of misdirection in the backfield that freezes like backside and front side defensive players. That opens up gaps, things that we never saw under Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson would just give the ball up to the inside zone and just try to push. Liam Coen creates lanes with the way that he uses misdirection. And I mean, he runs pre-snap motion or a shift every single play to let the quarterback know what defense they're in. And that allows him to check to his kill play if he needs to. And that creates a lot of good options for the quarterback. So I think just the way Liam Coen structures his offense is better suited to run the ball. So I'm not as worried as the offensive line as I was last year, because I think Liam Coen could do more with less. And I think he'll be able to get the most out of his backs. And I think he'll be able to create lanes with a different type of offense. So I do see him, and I know these aren't high draft picks or expensive free agents, but I do see him bringing in another back to kind of complement the two he has, because he needs three solid backs for his offense. And I see him bringing in that versatile tight end that can play fullback. I don't think Farrell's that guy. Strange maybe is, but he ran a lot of two tight end sets with the third tight end in the backfield. So I think you'll see a little bit of a a little mix up with the player personnel he has on offense. But I don't think this team's talent is too far off from what he wants to do. I think it's going to come down to Trevor making the throws, the receivers making the blocks down the field, and BTJ running with the ball in his hands. I think that's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah, so I'm curious with because the running back situation for the Jaguars is a little bit tricky because, like, you know, Etienne's on his 5th-year contract. He didn't have a great year last year. He just looks a lot slower, but I don't know how much of that has to do with injury. And then, you know, Tank Bigsby, he never really, like, he had some highlight moments, but he never really grabbed onto that running back one spot. And it feels like there's some room for improvement. I mean, like, Jordan, if you're looking at, you know, different draft prospects, I know a guy I like, and I'm a little bit selfish in this and a little bit biased.
RJ Harvey. I know.
Dude, like, why do I feel like RJ Harvey Could be so good on the Liam Coen offense. I don't know, man. He's so underrated and he's so good.
So here's the thing about running backs. So many of them are underrated by draft media. Teams know. A lot of these teams know. And RJ Harvey is probably going to end up being a 3rd or 4th round pick when it's all said and done because he's unbelievably explosive, creative with the ball in his hands, light feet. Yeah, I mean, I could see that for sure. And I do think that I completely agree with what Jason said, which is why in my mock draft I did this morning, I had them taking RJ Harvey. I also had them taking 2 tight ends because Luke Farrell is a free agent. You do have Brenton Strange and Evan Ingram, but if you're running 3 tight end sets or 2 tight end sets, you're going to want to have 4 guys. And so I think that you want to have guys that have versatility. And I think that that Jason's on the money with that analysis with this offense. And obviously, I do think Coen does a great job of molding what he wants to do around the players and the personnel that he has. But in an ideal world, I do think he wants to get big out there and run a lot of jumbo sets and get creative with the tight ends and the running backs. And I think that I think Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby have more skill than they have shown the last 2 years, quite frankly. I think they can play more consistently, but that is something they have to prove. Tank Bigsby has a fumbling issue. Travis Etienne has an issue hitting holes. So that's kind of why I look at bringing in somebody else that can maybe prove or push those guys, right, to be better out there because they are talented.
Yeah,
I have a question for you two.
Okay, let's hear it.
Well, watching through Tampa Bay's offense, I noticed that Baker kept a lot of plays alive with his ability to get outside the pocket, break tackles, improv, really. Do you worry that Trevor is not able to do that to the level that Baker is? And are you worried that Baker made that offense look better statistically because of his ability to do those things?
I'll let you go first, Jordan.
I'm not worried about it. I do think that Baker has a little bit more like contact balance and tackle breaking ability than Trevor Lawrence does. But I think Trevor, from just getting on the move and being able to release the football in a full sprint, I think he's got that down a little bit better than Baker. I think he has a stronger arm than Baker. I think he has more arm flexibility. But yeah, I think that's something that comes with confidence too. Confidence in your receivers, confidence in your play caller, confidence in yourself and in your body. So I think if anything, it would be about Trevor Lawrence being confident in the injury situations that he's been in as of late and not letting those kind of deter him from being a playmaker out there. Right.
Yeah. I'll also add Baker had like 60 more rushing yards this season than Trevor's had in his highest ever rushing season. I think it was 2023. So does that also limit Liam Cohen's offense, or does he just
I think Trevor is a better athlete than Baker, right? He is. There's no question about it. So could maybe Trevor be encouraged to go on the run more? Yes, but then at the same time, you worry about the injuries a little bit, the upper body injuries with Trevor Lawrence. So I think it's a little bit of a catch-22. I also think it's not a big deal. Like you didn't see Matthew Stafford taking off and getting a bunch of yards with the LA Rams. And so I think Lawrence is going to be a little bit more cautious to take off. But honestly, the shoulder injury was on him. It was. The head injury was not.
He should have slid 20 yards early. Should have slid 20 yards early.
Yeah, he slid a little late. He slid a little late there, I got to say.
So it's one of those things. I think they just got to have to I think they're going to have to figure it out. Like, however it goes, I think they're going to just have to figure out how comfortable Trevor is moving forward. I don't think, like, knowing how Trevor Lawrence plays the game, I don't think he's going to be overly cautious.
Well, also,
I think he's going to try to get down more often, but I don't think he's going to be overly cautious to not run the ball.
Well, and isn't a big thing about Liam Coen is the fact that he can evolve, is the fact that, you know, he's going to form the offense around the players. So
Yeah.
I mean, he's not going to be having any runs like what I think it was against the Commanders where Baker Mayfield had that sick run where he was just like, like laying off guys. Like, I mean, he was like, it won't be like that, but I mean, I think there could be some design stuff for Trevor Lawrence. And yeah, there's going to be times where he's going to need to escape just because that's what quarterbacks had to do sometimes. But I mean, he's got to be, I think if 2024 taught him anything, it's like, okay, let's protect the body. Let's, because now his injuries, like, I won't say he's injury prone, but he's had injuries and he's had his fair share of injuries. And I'm glad that he elected to get the surgery. Because I think it was the same thing he didn't elect to get surgery on in 2023 and then, finally got that done. So hopefully get a clean, healthy Trevor Lawrence. I mean, now he has, 2 concussions from the Jaguars under his belt and 3 concussions total. So got to be a little more careful. But, yeah, he's a different type of quarterback than Baker Mayfield. But I think no matter where you go, you're going to get a different quarterback and they all have, different skill sets. I mean, even though, say, like Jared Goff and Trevor Lawrence may look the same, they're completely different types of quarterbacks. So, it's
yeah, and Baker had by far his best year with Liam Coen dialing it up. I think Trevor Lawrence is in line for the same exact thing.
And another point one of my buddies brought up is the height difference between Baker and Trevor. Baker may have had trouble seeing over the middle of the field being as short as he is, whereas Trevor might be able to stand in the pocket and hit some of those, middle of the field routes because of his height. So that's what I'm hoping could happen too.
And Trevor's arm is less limited. Like, I think that the passing menu is much more open with Trevor than it is with Baker. Not to say Baker can't make every throw, but it's more difficult for him to hit some of these throws where you're having to get as much zip on it as you can and have that real arm strength. And Baker does have arm strength, but the way he generates it is different than Trevor. With Trevor, it's more natural. It's easier to get those passes off.
And I think the thing that I always come back to is like, when you bring up that question, what it brings me back is when I was at, the Jaguars and Buccaneers joint training camp practice last year. I mean, it was the ones versus ones on one side and then the ones versus ones on the other side. And like Trevor Lawrence was the best quarterback at that joint practice. And I know it's non-contact and I know it's, but when everything was controlled and we're going based solely on like arm talent and being able to throw the ball and sling it, Trevor Lawrence was the best guy out there. And I guarantee you most, maybe not everybody, because obviously when you get into the game, you have your gamers and you have your guys that, like Blaine Gabbert, who are the opposite end of it, who fall when actual light bullets come. But yeah, I've got a lot of confidence that, having this young, innovative offensive guy that's been in a lot of systems that's helped kind of turn around the Buccaneers offense. Like I really believe that we have the right guy and he's going to be able to finally make Trevor Lawrence like progress in a way where, Doug Peterson just wasn't able to. And not only did Trevor Lawrence regress, everybody regressed. I mean, it felt like the only players that actually progressed were the guys that went from their rookie year to their second year. It's like, yeah, well, that's kind of to be expected, right? And we just got to get the most out of these guys. And
yeah, and I'll say that I don't think there's a single offensive coach in the league that would take Baker Mayfield over Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah,
if they're starting a team,
it would be fascinating to see what exactly people are saying. What do you think, Jason? What do you think?
I don't know if I agree with that. I agree with you, but I
just think from a talent perspective, it's really not close. And when you've seen Trevor Lawrence at his best is better than Baker Mayfield's best. And you still haven't even seen him at his best yet. Like, he has not had a look. Baker Mayfield was thrown to a Hall of Fame receiver this year, right?
Yeah.
He was playing behind an offensive line, playing at a high level, running the ball well. You have not seen that yet. You're going to see it.
I agree. I just think if you asked all 32 GMs.
I didn't say GM.
Okay.
Because GMs, they're not the ones coaching those guys, right? I'm talking about offensive coaches.
Okay.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like, I think a lot of armchair people are like, oh, Baker Mayfield so much better than Trevor Lawrence bust. But I think guys that are actually like, if you were to give, guys a couple, like 2 weeks to see here, okay, break down the film, look at these guys, break down everything. I think people are going to be taking Trevor Lawrence just based on like, what can this guy do? What situations are they in? And yeah, it's just, that's what's so exciting now is that I thought a week ago when I woke up, it was going to be Trent Baalke and Bobby Saleh out here running the team. Now it's Liam Coen and whoever the GM is, and we're going to have an actual organization that the coach and GM have a good relationship. We have a system where the Liam Cohen's the offensive guy. He's going to get his defensive guy in there. It's going to be their own systems. It's just so much of a better setup. And Tony Baselli probably at the very top. And Tony Baselli is going to be a lot different than Tom Coughlin, because I believe that Tony Baselli will actually let the coaches coach, the GM's GM, and he's not going to sit here and get his fingers into everything and micromanage. So that's what is really, really positive about that.
Well, I don't think he's going to be in control of anything, right?
I don't think so either. Yeah, I think he's more of like a czar, right?
Yeah. Well, czar kind of sounds like he's in control, but he said he's there to advise, to give guidance whenever Shad asks him.
Yeah, that's what.
So am I. I'm also in that role.
Yeah, we're right here. Club
Shad
Jaguar is
asks
here
me,
for you, Shad.
Yeah, I'll give you guidance. Just let me know.
It's like, hey, Trent, do you think we should fire you? No, all right, we're gonna keep you. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I just want somebody like Shad Khan's go-to football guy to be a guy that knows football, and also somebody that cares about the Jags. And I don't think there's anybody better than Tony Baselli to kind of be in that role.
Yeah.
Get to a couple super chats here. Punchline says, anyone down to do key bumps in the handy stall at Club Jaguar? No idea what you're talking about. No idea what you're talking about.
I do.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No idea, man.
Sounds like a good time to me.
No comment.
Jason is down for that. Jason is down for that. Just don't go in 2 or 3 at a time, okay? All right, we got Max in the building. Says
that's how you get kicked out. Okay,
That's
you
true.
got to be inconspicuous.
That's true.
That's when Jordan goes to the owner and says, "There's people doing weird stuff in the bathroom, sir." Oh man,
Jordan was that guy in high school, huh?
I'm not a narc.
Yeah.
Mark. Max says, should we pursue T. Higgins? Now, this is an interesting conversation because last year I probably would have told you no, because I'm sitting here like, man, the Jaguars have too much invested in the wide receiver room and everything. But now you look at it, now you have a young wide receiver one and Brian Thomas Jr. that's going to be cheap for the next several years. Now it almost opens up that other spot to maybe be able to give someone a bag. And I know people might think that maybe Gabe Davis or Christian Kirk, their contracts might be in the way, but Jason, do you think the Jaguars should pursue T. Higgins?
So here's the trap that a lot of fans fall into, and I fall into it as well, is we look at every free agent that could potentially be available, and we think, go after that guy. Unfortunately, 70% of them end up getting re-signed by their team. Unfortunately, T. Higgins is in a situation where he could get franchise tagged again. So if I'm the Bengals and I can't reach an agreement with T. Higgins, I'm probably franchise tagging him again. So I just don't think T. Higgins is very likely to be an actual free agent. If he is an actual free agent, the market for him is going to be insane. Look at what Calvin Ridley just got. So, of course, I would be on board with getting one of the best wide receivers in free agency to come into this team. I think every NFL team would say that. It's just realistically, that's a huge contract you're bringing in. I'm all for it. I just, unfortunately, don't think it's as realistic when you look at some of these teams that have more cap room than us. The T. Higgins is the type of guy you'd sell out for. And I just don't know if the Jags are in that situation where they can sell out for him, but obviously would love him here.
Jordan, what do you think?
I mean, from a cap perspective, they definitely could do it. Like, there's no question about it. Now, I think that would mean you're moving on from Christian Kirk for sure. I don't think that you're having the Christian Kirk contract, the Gabe Davis contract, and the T. Higgins contract all on the books in 1 year. I just don't think that's happening. It might mean you're moving on from Evan Ingram too. I don't know, quite frankly. But the way I look at it personally, I would rather draft a receiver in the first or second round than pay T. Higgins $30 million. I would just love to have two, because you look at the receiver position. Outside of quarterback, there is not a position that is more valuable to have a player on a rookie contract. Receiver is the second highest paid position in the league by a wide margin now. Mm-hmm. Nothing's even close. I mean, edge is the next closest thing. Receiver, I think there's like 6 dudes that are making over $30 million per year. There's one edge making over $30 million per year. So from a value perspective, I mean, I think if you go and get like a Tedero McMillan or a Luther Burden or one of these guys in the second round that you could feel really good about, I think that's more valuable, quite frankly. And would I be against them going and signing T. Higgins? No, absolutely not. You're talking about probably a $30 million deal per year, probably 4 years. So year one cap hits probably somewhere around 12, 13 million, 35 to 45% of the average annual value. So they can afford to do it. They absolutely can. I just think they would be wiser to use more money at guard, to use more money on the secondary, and then go attack receiver in the draft.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I view it.
And it's crazy because, like, wide receiver, it's just one of those spots where guys as good as T. Higgins are just never out there available just to go sign. So, like, with those kind of things, like, even if they were trying to move on from the Bengals and they know, hey, we're not going to be able to keep him next year, you franchise tag him and trade him. I mean, that's literally what the Green Bay Packers did with Devontae Adams. They knew he wasn't going to be on the team, but they franchise tagged him, and they're able to get a first-round pick and a second-round pick back. And, you know, they would be able to get some pretty good draft capital, you know, in exchange for him. So I don't know if, you know, the Jaguars will be in necessarily a spot to do that. But, you know, like Jordan said, like, it's so much, and it's a lot, you know, harder said than done, just going out and getting a really, really good wide receiver on day 2 of the NFL draft. But,
no,
man,
not.
Like, sometimes it is. I mean, at least for the Jaguars.
It should not be. It should not be is what I'm trying to say. And I'm not saying day 2. If you go sign a starting corner, a starting safety, a starting guard, I am on board with going and getting your top wide receiver in the draft in the first round.
Wow. So do you think like McMillan at number 5 overall, could that be a real move there?
Yes.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Interesting. Jason, have you watched any of McMillan?
I haven't watched any film, but, you know, just seeing the highlights, so I don't want to speak too much on it, but I like his size and his speed and his hands. You also got Travis Hunter up there too. So, I mean, there's 2 guys that could potentially come in and play wide receiver for you. I'm with Jordan here. I mean, obviously, I would echo everything he just said. Try to draft a guy early. Obviously, you have glaring needs at corner. But for me, that number 1 spot's got to be probably either receiver, corner, or D tackle. So whatever you can find in free agency.
DT is interesting for me because I think they have the dudes to get after the quarterback at DT this year. I worry about how stout they're going to be if they don't add some beef. What do you think about that?
I mean, unless you can supplement it with good linebacker play, which, you know, maybe we bring in a linebacker, you know, which would sound crazy, but a lot of,
Yes,
a couple of these D coordinators they're interviewing are linebackers coaches and, you know, or run game coordinators for the defense. So, you know, there's a chance you could supplement it with your linebackers. It's a little strange to me. I don't want to get too far off on a side tangent here, but all of the D coordinators, whoever we interviewed this morning, I haven't looked into him, but the 5 we interviewed yesterday, Patrick Graham was the only one that ran a base 4-3. All the other guys are coming from an odd man front system. So if we bring in a guy like that, we're looking at a total overhaul of our D line, and then that completely changes the conversation because now Walker and Allen are in stand up, and you need 3 beefy guys down there. So there's a lot to dissect when we get our D coordinator and we kind of figure out what kind of defense we're going to run.
Yeah. And I know for me,
I think that Anthony Campanelli has experience in both a 3-4 and 4-3 defense. So I don't know what he would be doing. And that's the linebackers coach from Green Bay and run game coordinator. But yeah, other than that, yeah, I think you're right.
I mean, I'll be honest, when I look at our situation, like, you know, I see really our secondary, like our secondary is so weak right now. Like all we really have right now is Tyson Campbell and Jarian Jones. So you need probably 2 new safeties. And, I wouldn't even mind going to Will Johnson over there at pick number 5. I mean, you're paying Tyson Campbell. Then all of a sudden you get, so some of your cornerback money is kind of allocated there. Then you get another guy that's on a cheap young rookie contract. And those are kind of your 2 outside guys for the next 2, 3, 4 years. So I wouldn't mind doing something like that. I mean, we desperately need help there, and I don't know what's going to be available out there in free agency. It's hard to look. It's this early. It's so hard to look at top free agency guys because like a lot of these guys get scooped up, franchise tag, paid, all that kind of stuff. So I don't know.
I'll tell you, I think DJ Reed will absolutely be a free agent.
And you think that's
the New York Jets corner?
So you think that's a guy that Jaguars could probably go after?
Yeah, I think Charvarius Ward is absolutely going to be a free agent. He's had some family tragedy, lost a daughter, and said, he needs to get out of California. So I think he's absolutely going to be a free agent. The Lions corner, Carlton Davis, Jeremy Fowler already linked the Jaguars to him potentially. He's going to be a free agent. You've also got Paulson Adebo, who he could return to New Orleans, but they've got a whole new staff being hired there. So I do think there's going to be a good amount of corners that you could potentially add in free agency. And it's a deep draft class at corner.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not saying you shouldn't draft Will Johnson at all or Travis Hunter. I'm just saying there's options.
They bump Jarian Jones outside, make him 2?
I wouldn't.
So we do that there, and like, do we all feel like we need 2 brand new safeties back there as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, if we bring Dewey back, I think we're okay. But besides that,
he's under contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, but do we want Dewey starting? Like,
oh yeah, absolutely. Every play. Let's get him on offense.
Like Dewey's the kind of guy where it's like when Antonio Johnson are out there and Cisco is like, we need Dewey back, and Dewey comes back, he plays a good game, and then he gets exposed. That's kind of Dewey. And
I think Antonio Johnson and Cisco can both play better than they did last year. I think they can both be coached and be more bought in than they were last year. I'm not saying that that's the route you should go. That's not the route I would go. But I think Andre Cisco, wherever he is playing next year, is going to play better than he played this year.
So Augustin, member for 56 months, man. Holy crap. It's almost 5 years. That's some wild stuff right there. He says, who do you think will be our offensive defensive coordinator and our new GM? Have you heard any news of any people of interest for these positions? So they've been interviewing a lot of guys. I mean, I don't know who they actually go with. I'm not even sure what the timing of our GM is. I mean, Senior Bowl's going on right now, and our GM is probably a member of another staff right now. So I don't know, Jordan, can you give us some kind of breakdown of like what you expect really timing wise for the GM, and if you've heard of any offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator like favorites right now?
Yeah, I think that Patrick Graham was the favorite to be the Jaguars defensive coordinator. I think that they decided to go in a different direction. That's why he's returning to the Las Vegas Raiders now. You look at, I don't know who's going to be the defensive coordinator. I really don't. And, Aubrey Pleasant, they have interviewed, and they have Aubrey Pleasant and Liam Coen have history together. Aubrey Pleasant is a rising star in the league, according to a lot of folks. He was fired from Detroit before he went to LA, though, right? So, I mean, it's not like he has a perfect, pristine resume. You look at that. So you've also got Anthony Campanile. They requested the Carolina Panthers pass game coordinator defensively, Jonathan Cooley.
Yep.
Durante Jones from the Minnesota Vikings is their pass game coordinator as well. And all these guys are young up-and-comers, each and every one. So I'm looking at it like, I think they decided they're going to try to find somebody more like Liam Coen, somebody who has the same vision, the same beliefs and culture, and somebody that they think they can identify as a rising star, somebody who's going to become a star in this league as a defensive coordinator. And when it comes to offensive coordinator, the only name I know for sure right now is Nate Shilesi, and I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but the Jaguars interviewed him. He's a rising star. He's only 34 years old. He's only been coaching 10 years.
From the Rams, right?
Yeah, and he only spent 1 year with the Rams as the Rams offensive assistant and pass game specialist. Prior to that, he was at Iowa State where he was offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach. Before that, he was a wide receiver coach. Before that, he was a running back coach. He coached like every single thing on offense at Iowa State, and before that, he was at Illinois. So he's risen up. He got into coaching really young at 24 years old, and he's risen up the ranks. And there's a reason the Rams brought him in. Like Sean McVay must have identified him as someone that he really, really values. So I can understand why he might have some buzz and some interest as a potential offensive coordinator. And again, Liam Coen is going to be calling the plays. So the offensive coordinator will still have a big, big role. Will be a right-hand man for Liam Coen, will handle a lot of the installs and different things, but Liam Cohen's still going to be the one with his finger on the trigger there for the offense. So I don't know, honestly. I think it's still kind of wide open. And when it comes to the general manager spot, I think that their goal, Shad Khan stated, was to get it done by the end of February. And now Ethan Waugh and the entire front office and staff, scouting staff, they've already done the work for this draft. So that's why I don't think that that's as big of a rush as getting the coaching staff in place.
Yeah. So definitely I would imagine by this time next week, we have an offensive and defensive coordinator. Like, I think that'll get wrapped up relatively quick. And I think the longer we kind of wait, it feels like, I think the Jaguars, what it feels like is they were leaning toward Patrick Graham. But with Coen, I think he's having a lot of autonomy. And he's going to basically say, if I don't want him, I'm not going to take him. So I think he's going to go out there and find his guys, which is definitely good. So I'm just hoping that he brings in a defensive guy. I mean, I would have wanted somebody that's been a defensive coordinator before and just knows how to run it, but I'm not sure if the Jaguars are going to actually get that. But Liam Coen is calling plays, which, speaking about calling plays, shout out to Press Taylor, the new passing game coordinator for the Bears. Let's go, man. So are you telling me if we hired Ben Johnson, we would have been able to retain Press Taylor? Is that what you're saying?
That's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, the best thing Press has got going for him is that his brother is a decent head coach. So,
you know what? I'm glad we're not going to find out the answer.
Yeah,
to that question, Dalton.
Now I really wonder where Doug Peterson's going to end up. Maybe quarterback coach for the Bears. Maybe they can run it back.
Maybe
I think he should go hang out with Andy for a while.
Yeah, I was saying earlier, I was like, maybe he'll go to the Nick Saban. I'm like, oh wait, Nick Saban's not coaching anymore. You know, all these guys would go to Alabama, go there for a year or two, get recycled, and they'd go somewhere else. That farm isn't open anymore. So
I think he should go to Kansas City.
Yeah,
I think that'd be good for him.
I think you should go to Fox Sports.
Fox Sports.
I don't know about that.
We'll see. I don't know if he's got the street cred for that just yet. But real quick, shout out to this video sponsor, BetUS. We're already so far into this and haven't given them a shout out, but you know, they've got different odds out here. Let me switch this over here. So Super Bowl, and by the way, I got to give Jordan some credit. He went out on a limb on this channel and called that it would be Chiefs and Eagles in the Super Bowl, and they got it right. What made you want to make that bold take right there, Jordan?
Well, the AFC side was as unbold as it gets, right? So we can skip that part. The Eagles, I think, are the most talented football team in the NFL, most talented football team on the planet, for that matter, obviously. But I just believed that bringing in a Vic Fangio, bringing in a Kellen Moore was going to bring in some professionalism to both sides of the ball from a play calling and coordination standpoint, adding Saquon Barkley, adding Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. I was like, that's it. That's going to be the team. And they're there now. So, yeah, I called that before the season. I feel good about it.
Yeah, so if you look at it right now, Kansas City Chiefs 1-point favorites. Jason, do you got a three-peat going on with the Kansas City Chiefs?
I sure hope not. But I mean,
why not? Why don't you want a three-peat?
Because I'm tired of seeing the Chiefs, man. I'm tired of seeing all of. I mean, it just, you know, I don't. And honestly, Patrick Mahomes doesn't really piss me off. It's more just like Travis Kelce and like all of that crap. And it's whatever. Like Mahomes, I respect Mahomes. You know, the guy does what it takes, but I think I'm just oversaturated. I'm a big Bill Belichick fan, so I don't want to see another coach kind of like get close to the conversation of who the best coach is of all time. Although
You
Andy
really
Reid,
like Bill Belichick more than Andy Reid?
I do like Bill Belichick a lot.
What is wrong with you?
I like Bill Belichick a lot. He's if you actually dive deep into how he does things. There's a book out there written by Michael Hawley called Patriot Reign, where they let him follow around the Patriots for like a year, and he gets like real deep on like how Bill Belichick does things, and it's hard not to respect the guy. So he does everything the way I would do it. That's why I've always liked him. But that being said, I got to give credit to Jordan. He did hit the Super Bowl matchup on the head. I wasn't expecting the Lions to literally fumble as bad as they did in that game. But they did. Give credit to the Eagles for playing sound football, being able to do it on the ground and with some defense as well. It's crazy that both these teams have drafted guys that a bunch of Jags fans wanted, and the Jags passed up on them, and then now they're just balling out. And it's like, who could have seen that coming? And that's why I used to say when I was younger, when I was a young 24-year-old, like whatever coach we were talking about, I was like, oh, no, these guys are professionals. They know what they're talking about. They don't know what they're talking about, and they know just as much as we do. So congratulations, Jordan. This is much like the national championship game to me, where I wanted both teams to lose. So, again, I want somehow both teams to lose if possible.
You know, I hear for every Super Bowl the Chiefs get, you get another big-time commercial brand deal for Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and the whole entire crew. But you know what? I'm not going to put anything on that. We'll wait until next week to put some money on that. But I want to look at coin toss. Okay? Coin toss. Okay. What's your guys' go-to, Jordan? Jordan, what are you going on a coin toss? Heads or tails?
Tails.
What about you, Jason?
I'm going heads because Jordan went tails.
I'm a heads guy too. Okay.
Let's go, baby. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about.
And we're going to put $100 on that. Okay.
I mean, maybe we should go with the guy who picked the Super Bowl matchup, but I have faith in this one.
Actually, let me see. I had $107 of super chats today, so let's put $107 out on this one. Okay. And then we're gonna flip this, and then yeah,
Snowball.
we're feeling good about this. And if you guys want to do this, man, shout out to BetUS, 150% deposit bonus if you use promo code YouTube150. Really good stuff over there, and always be sure to play responsibly if you guys choose to do so. So with that said, man, we have obviously new head coach. You got a lot of new exciting stuff. I know right now we have the Senior Bowl going on. You know, Jordan, you're the draft prospect guy, man. Is there anybody that you're kind of keeping an eye on that you're maybe a little bit keen to? Like you could see, like, you know, second, third, fourth round picks. Any guys that you have a real hunch that the Jaguars may try to go after?
Well, I don't really know what they're going to value in the draft.
Why not?
It's not like we got Trent Baalke running things, right? But
you know what's funny? Like, I don't mean to cut you off, but like,
yeah.
like when in past years, I would look at, you know, PFF, look at like, you know, different prospects, and like whenever it was say like cons, it's like lower than average arm length. I'm like, all right, well, I don't need to read this guy because he's not coming here. So now I don't have to do that, which is great.
Yeah, it's funny. You know, I think there's a lot of really explosive backs that could do good things in a Liam Coen offense there at the Senior Bowl right now. You know, Trevor Etienne for one of them. I mean, this guy is unbelievably explosive. You may know his brother. You might have heard of him, Travis Etienne.
The
Is
former
Trevor
Jaguars
going to take
running
Travis's job?
He's explosive. Your boy RJ Harvey's incredibly explosive. Brayshell Tootin, which is their real name. Virginia Tech running back. Low to the ground, compact, really good pass catcher and outside zone guy. So I think running back wise, it'll kind of depend on what Liam Cohen's really looking for and what they really want to establish here with the run game.
Yeah,
because you go in a lot of different directions. My running back of choice is Damian Martinez out of Miami. I don't know if y'all have seen him at all, but you know, just a hair under 6 feet, 226 pounds. He's got great length, which I know Trent Baalke would be a fan of. Obviously, doesn't matter as much as a running back unless you're talking about catching passes. But he has great vision and patience behind the line of scrimmage. And when he gets to the second level, he's either going to juke you or he's going to run right through you. And it almost always works every time, right? He's got really good lateral agility and great power behind his pads. I think he's explosive. So that's my guy at running back. That's who I would love to see. When you talk about some other positions the Jaguars could be targeting, we've talked about Gray Zabel. There's a lot of guys that play tackle that could bump inside to guard. Jonas Avenea is doing good bumping inside to guard at Senior Bowl. I think Emory Jones was a name y'all might be familiar with, who was really popular tackle out of LSU before the season, didn't have the season you were looking for. I think he can.
Not the Florida quarterback.
I was about to say, was that Florida quarterback?
No,
Same
yeah,
name?
it was.
Okay.
Same name, yeah, spelled differently, but same name. I think he could be a guard. There's so many guys that could bump inside to guard. But again, I think they should just go take care of guard in free agency with Trey Smith or Tevin Jenkins or Will Fries or Mekhi Becton. You know, one of those top two would be my ideal. But and then go get somebody who can play center, which again, I think Gray Zabel can certainly do that. I'd be fine with taking him at 36. I think Marcus Mbo is someone who I think can absolutely play center as well, who you could develop. He's an insane athlete, and he played tackle this past year at Purdue. I think he's struggling to hang out there a little bit, but I think kick him inside and he's in a much better situation. You look at receivers, there's a lot of guys there too. Jaden Higgins is 6'4", 215 pounds. He's kind of that type of receiver that Trevor Lawrence hasn't had in Jacksonville. The big-bodied possession type of guy, can go up and get the contested catch balls, can be that chain mover, reliable type of receiver. I would love to see him for the Jaguars as well. But, you know, I could go on and on about these guys. So
you definitely can, man. He's got a ton of draft prospect videos on his channel, man. Just like really content for days. And all I'm asking, and I'll let Jason kind of give his takes on the draft, like, every year I sit here and ask, like, can we just build up these trenches? Can we get big guys? And we just never do it. And we have these weak offensive line and defensive lines where we're getting pushed around. Like, I don't care if it's draft. I don't care if it's through. And I made this on Twitter today. Dude, the last time the Jaguars drafted like a starting caliber interior offensive lineman was Brandon Leonard in 2014. Like, we have just been so bad at drafting that position. It's like, come on. Like,
who have they tried besides Fortner since then?
I mean, I don't know. People are trying to give me like to say Ben Barch, which I guess Ben Barch played better for the 49ers, and maybe where it's a draft and develop issue. But you know,
that wasn't a bad pick. That was a fourth-round pick, I think. Right?
Third-round pick. Luke Fortner, has he worked out very well? Now he's got his homeboy back. People are trying
can't stay healthy.
People are trying to bring me, you know, like Cooper Hodges. I'm like, dude, every time this guy gets on the field, it's like throwing a beer bottle on I-95. It's just like the guy gets like fucking obliterated, and it's like the guy just he suffers these insane injuries all the time. And I'm just like, dude, this guy can't stay out there for a game. So I don't know, man. But yeah, we just like, I guess we just like to pay people on the interior of the offensive line. I don't know, but it would just be nice to get like to get somebody to be holding down the center position for 10 plus years, like, or have a good guard, something. But I don't know. Jason, how are you approaching this offseason? How are you approaching it? What are you going to do to get this roster better?
I mean, I didn't watch any of the Senior Bowl. I did watch RFK's confirmation and Senate hearing. You guys have any questions about that?
Later.
That one.
Oh, okay. All right. I guess I'll move on then.
That's a June stream.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, like I was saying earlier, it was, I don't know, like you said, I don't know what direction they're going to go. I mean, if they bring in a DC, I'll kind of get an idea a little bit. They bring in a GM, maybe I'll get a little bit of an idea, but I just have no clue. It's just like, it'd be impossible to guess right now. That's why I love listening to Jordan talk about the possibilities of the draft picks. We know the positions they have to upgrade. So however they do that would be great, but it's not a great answer, but I just have no clue even what type of defensive player they're going to want. Are they going to want odd front 3-4 D tackle? Are they going to want a man corner? Or, I mean, are they going to want a box safety? I have no clue. So it's tough to know right now, but hopefully
let's rank the needs.
Right.
Which that can be scheme dependent as well, obviously. But from a broad sense. Let's rank those.
Well, what's
needs.
crazy is so number one for me might not need to be something that's thrown a lot of money at or even drafted high as safety. You have nobody. You have no safeties. You have Andrew Wingard.
I agree.
So how about you, Jordan? What's your need number one?
Shit.
You stumped yourself with your own question.
Like if I could only pick one position and everything else has to say the same.
Well, we're ranking them, man. We're ranking
Yes.
We're doing your question.
You have
backing out of your own
one
question.
Position, everything stays the same. What are you picking?
I'm picking guard.
Ugh.
How can you not pick safety? We have no safeties on the roster.
Pick wide receiver.
That was between it was guard or wide receiver. Look, the number one thing for me is the offense. With Liam Coen, with Trevor Lawrence, get the offense going in the right direction. If the defense struggles a little bit this year, so be it. Now, I'm not saying they shouldn't address everything. They should go after everything. They should go after guard. They should go after receiver. They should go after corner. They should go after safety. They should get depth on the defensive front. They should get an edge, right? Like they should do all these things.
You bring up a good point because, like, if our 2024 season or 2025 season is the Bucs 2024 season, I'm cool with that. Put up a bunch of points on offense, make your quarterback look good, struggle defensively, get into the playoffs, and you can one and done if you want. I wouldn't mind that. Of course, then do better things in 2026. But yeah, so
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Somehow Abdul Carter's at 5. Are you taking him?
I'll let Jordan answer that.
Depends on free agency.
I don't want depends answer, Jordan. I want an answer. I don't want depends.
I'll say this.
Confirmation hearing.
If I have addressed safety at least once in free agency, addressed corner at least once in free agency, addressed guard and receiver.
What if you haven't? What if you haven't addressed this? No, you're not. You're not.
No. And he's not going to be there at 5. I think he's going to be a top 3 pick at worst. I think he's going to be number 1 pick.
Do you think the Jaguars are going to go out and actually, because like, of course we have some cap space this year, but aren't we like pushing it into like all of a sudden the cap hits are going to come in 2026 and 2027?
No, I mean, so you have Trevor who will hit eventually. You have to worry about Trayvon as well, assuming they're going to re-sign him, which of course they should. Other than that, like, what are your long-term big contracts that are coming up?
Tyson Campbell.
But Tyson and Josh are, they'll be hitting soon, but they just don't have a lot on the books. They have a lot of cap flexibility moving forward. So it's not a big
Trevor,
issue.
You got Josh. You got Tyson. You got Trevon Walker's going to come up on the books here soon. You got to re-sign him.
Well, the thing about him is, so he's going to be going into year 4. Then I assume that they will do the 5th-year option. And then so his contract wouldn't start until 2027.
But picking his 5th-year option on the first number 1 overall pick, that cap hit on his
it's not cheap, but it's not like what it will be, right? So you look at the cap, and there's just not that many guys that are under long-term contracts. And the great thing about free agency this year specifically, when you look at the Jaguars situation, is if you sign a guy to a 3-year deal, you can get out of it after 2026. If you sign a guy to a 4-year deal, you can get out of after 2027. None of these have to be like the long-term building blocks. They have to be guys that can get you there in the meantime.
That's the bulky mindset, though.
No, it's not.
You're already thinking about like, all right, when can we get out of these contracts? I want to sign free agents that are good, that play out their entire contracts. So I get the spirit of what you're saying.
I disagree with you because I want them to be good. I want to move on from them because we feel good about who we have drafted at those same spots.
Yeah, but you also want to keep your elite players, and then
if you go get an elite guy in free agency that you feel like you have to keep, absolutely keep him.
I'm not looking at getting out of Trevor's contract or getting out of Josh Hines Allen's contract, but if we sign a Walker Little, I want to sign to a shorter deal just because we have nothing else there. And I want to look to, be able to draft a guard that'll ultimately be able to replace, be the guy going forward. That's kind of their long term. And that's the Jaguars don't have enough of that. We don't have enough, like, I want this guy around forever. You know what I mean? You have that. And, hopefully Trevor, of course they gave him money, but I believe in him. A lot of people do, but if you don't, I can understand that too. Josh Hines Allen have showed he's been pretty good. Tyson Campbell, we want him here as long as he's kind of in his prime. Yeah, he's pretty good. He's very good.
Pretty good. Okay.
Very good. I'd say very good.
He's good.
A lot of pressures last year. But we all need to get into a Josh Allen debate. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? You got these guys, and like we just don't have enough, like, yeah, no doubt we got to keep this guy. Like every guy that we sign, even like when Trayvon Walker comes up, we're gonna have to debate about whether we should re-sign him. We need more, like, we must sign this guy, no questions about it. You know what I mean? We don't have enough of that. We need more of that. We need to draft more of that.
Yeah, I think you use free agency to address your immediate needs. You use the draft to build a long-term plan out there.
Yeah. But we shall see. But all right, guys, this has been your latest episode of Club Jaguar. Dude, it's exciting times, man. This is the most excited I've been on this channel since August. Yeah, we've had a lot of just like really just crappy and like let's break down.
Honestly, think it's more exciting than at any point last year because at any point last year I still felt like there was a cap.
Yeah.
Now I don't know.
Yeah. I
really don't know.
You got a whole new life in here, man. You got a new, like, it felt like your culture was kind of established last year, right? You kind of knew what it was, and you're going to hope that somehow the players can overcome the crap that was in the building, especially when Trent Baalke's kind of hanging around. Now, like, it's going to be fascinating to see what we do in free agency. Now we're going to have a fresh set of eyes, really look at this roster, and you have Liam Coen, who we have an offensive guy that actually seems innovative, that won't go the first 3 quarters of the game without even targeting Brian Thomas Jr. And he's going to hopefully be able to unlock Trevor Lawrence. And yeah, just a guy that hopefully players will play for, because it didn't feel like players really wanted to play for Doug Peterson at the end of his Jaguars tenure. So it's really, really exciting stuff. So, all right, guys, want to give a shout out to both these guys who joined me for this show. First of all, like I said at the beginning of the show, man, Jason has an awesome breakdown of like just what we're getting out of Liam Coen, just actually showing us on the film, teaching us his different concepts. So Jason, tell us a little bit about that and like kind of what you have coming up.
Yeah, I went through every single Bucs offensive snap and kind of picked some plays that I saw either would be utilized here in Jacksonville, I believe, or plays that I saw him run consistently. So that's on there. It's a good watch. And then there's no telling when I'm going to go live. So just be looking around for 9 p.m. because you never know.
And maybe Travis will join you too.
Yeah, maybe.
So it's always a good time.
Yeah.
Jordan, you're pumping out the content, Jordan. Like I had to scroll down your channel to get just like 7 days back. So tell us a little bit about what's going on the Gen Jag YouTube channel.
Yeah, just covering all the different coordinator news, trying to figure out who's going to be the next defensive coordinator, who's going to be the next offensive coordinator, how the staff's going to fill out, if there's any rumblings about GM, and then also, spending 4 hours a day on the Senior Bowl this week is a lot of fun too. So you can check out Rogue Football if you want my full thoughts on Senior Bowl. I'll probably do a video for Gen Jag talking about some Senior Bowl guys as well, but I'm doing Senior Bowl winners every day of Senior Bowl practice, which was yesterday, today, and tomorrow over on Rogue Football.
Sweet. Yeah. So Jordan, Jaguar content over at Gen Jag, and of course, just NFL content over on Rogue Football. Jordan knows his stuff, man. And as he does this, like these guys get drafted, then he knows so much more about these different teams out there and what they got. So all that is good stuff. These guys, their links are right down in the description box below. Let's grow this Jaguar community, man. If you're not subscribed to them, man, definitely go over there and support them, for pumping out Jaguars content, because we don't have really a lot of us out there. So really appreciate them for coming on here, and appreciate everyone for watching. If you guys enjoyed this, please do me a favor and drop a like. I don't know how much the YouTube algorithm is going to play with me after I got my channel hacked by a bunch of crypto people, but whatever. It's a conversation another day. But yeah, appreciate everyone for being here. Appreciate you guys. Shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this stream. and go Jags.